Hi, I'm Cheryl Kremko, and I'm a social media alcoholic. Social media aholic. You probably are too, in fact. Studies have shown that every time you share through social media, you get a little hit of dopamine in your brain. So it's just like being addicted to love, being addicted to Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And if you are a social media aholic, you probably have discovered that social media can be the most expensive free marketing on the planet. So if you don't invest money in your social media presence, you invest time. And how do we make sure that this is time well spent for your business? Today, brands are discovering that social is becoming an effective channel for driving sales as well as improving your image. So how do you make sure that your investment in social media gets results? To help us answer that question, we've gathered a panel of experts who engage in social media in different ways for themselves and for others. We have a brand marketer, Eugene Brill, who's the Vice President of Operations for Judycom. He specializes in all kinds of internet marketing, SEO, pay-per-click, social media, and one of his specialties is developing user-generated content, which is one way that you can extend your reach without investing more time. The B2B expert, Cindy Adelstein, is the founder and president of Jewelers Research Bureau. She explains the jewelry business to designers and explains designers to the jewelry business. She promotes designer jewelry through trade events, seminars, panels, books, and business coaching, and she's addicted to Instagram. We have a global designer, Everett DeGraaf. He's a fine jeweler and was vice president of product development for David Yurman, Mikimoto, Suna Collection. Since 2006, he has launched designers and brands using social media into the Chinese market. So he's got some fascinating information on social media used in China. And we have the serial blogger, Robin Hawk, who's better known as a fly on the wall. She handles social media for gem and jewelry brands, businesses, and artists. She herself is a metalsmith, gem cutter, and student of gemology and mineralogy. She blogs to educate, promote emerging designers, and to share her love of gems and minerals. So, as you can see, our panel has a lot of different expertises, and so we're hoping in the end that you can ask them questions about your use of social media. So I thought I'd start with asking each of our panelists, if you were on a desert island and the desert island had Wi-Fi, and you could only take one social media channel with you, which would it be? Which social media channel gets the most results? So Eugene.
I go for Facebook. I'm a big Facebook proponent. Are we moving into my slides now?
No, we're just going to talk a little bit about which channel, why, and what content works best on Facebook.
So I'm a big believer in building a community around your brand. To me, that is a really important aspect, specifically in the jewelry industry, where you are competing with the likes of Blue Nile and Tiffany's and these guys that have got very deep pockets that can go after the internet marketing in a very aggressive way. So for you to build your own brand, the best thing for you to do is to get your community together and talk directly to them, and Facebook is my poison of choice.
And Robin, what about you?
Well, perfect, because we are both of the same mind. Now, if you had said it was somewhere besides a desert island, it might have been Twitter, because Twitter is great for driving local. But deserted island, there's no local. So definitely Facebook.
Until you start making a line of coconut shell jewelry.
Right, there you go.
That's right.
It definitely has the largest audience and most varied audience, and the audience that can afford the jewelry you're making, not kids.
Right. So how about Cindy?
Everybody already knows Instagram. That's it. I'm happy. I'm done. Complete. I can run my whole life, my business, my clients' businesses with Instagram.
Okay, I'm inserting myself in here, perhaps inappropriately, to raise the flag for Twitter. And one of the reasons why I think Twitter is really important is I think it's a really great way to have conversations with influencers. So, you know, the news happens on Twitter, and journalists and bloggers and influencers, a lot of them are word people, and so they're on Twitter to find out what's going on. You know, what celebrity has just died. And so one of the ways that you can get attention and grow your reach, not talking to people that you already know, but finding new people, is by doing things like newsjacking, inserting yourself into conversations that are already happening. And so, for example, we all know that Mad Men started again last week, and obviously it got a huge amount of publicity. And so if you were an agency that was portrayed in a negative light on Mad Men, you could have just kind of tried to hope it would all go away. But instead, what they did was they kind of made a lot of jokes about how horrible they were in the episode while the episode was going on, and happened to get a really great social media boost from it and a lot of followers. So I feel that, Twitter is more of a conversation and less of, here's my life, it's all perfect, like Instagram is. And we're having a little war. And
Promoting jewelry, it is all perfect.
it is all perfect, obviously. So this is my thing about Twitter, is that I think it's a way to have conversations with people who if you followed them on Facebook, it'd sort of be like stalking, like famous people or journalists and bloggers and things like that. So Everett, you have a totally different perspective. And so if you had to pick one, what would it be?
If I was on an island, I would definitely shut everything off and just take a nice long nap. But I mean, from my perspective is I am not a social media guru, and I'm really honored to be within this panel and to be invited to be here. Thank you very much. But I think for China, there's various different platforms. 91% of the Chinese internet or social media consumer, they have an internet account, they have a social media account, they do it on various different levels, versus only 67% of the US population. So the ratio is very high in participation in social media. From my perspective, there's various platforms in China. I think WeChat and Weibo are the most powerful because they both attend to B2B and B2C. So what I mean by that is that when you position a designer or a product or a retailer even in China, it's really important to take both approaches. So it means B2B is that there's an industry network that wants to see information in order to grow and to educate their consumers. So it's both B2B and B2C, but I would say WeChat, Weibo, and then QQ would be my favorite.
Yeah. So why don't you give us sort of a brief overview? I don't think a lot of us are familiar with social media in China.
Okay.
So could you just sort of tell us like what the landscape is like, what people do, and all
the
that
landscape,
stuff?
There's basically about 10 different social media platforms. I'll just explain a little bit of the top 5. You have WeChat, QQ, Weibo, you have Momo, and then you have also Qzone, which is a new one. QQ was probably one of the first that came out. On average, about 250 to 500 million memberships for most of these, and then the participation rate at the highest of about 125 million people online, all at the same time, participating and sharing information. As you probably know, China is a protected environment, so sort of not the Great Wall, but the Great Firewall is definitely up, even though there's many different consumers and social media participants that are bypassing that information. But in a way, it's sort of self-contained. So between these 5 platforms, it gives, they really are not interested in participating in outside WeChat like Facebook. Facebook shut off, various different Instagram is shut off, but you can turn it back on, but it's just not between the English and the cultural difference and the language and all that. They focus more on their own core social media part. So I would say that as far as the opportunity are concerned for social media in China, it is just an open game, but it's self-contained. It's all self-contained. The only one that crosses over is when you look at WeChat. WeChat has an ability for QQ and other social media platforms to steer their messages and contain it all in WeChat in one. There's many different, I think there's about 130 million WeChat participants outside of China. I think that's about 250 or 300 million inside China. So it's self-contained, and it's very interesting. And the Chinese are very studious about research online and getting information, reading it every day. They're hungry for this information every day.
Can Americans get in on it? Can we
Yeah.
log in?
Not businesses, though. You have to be China approved.
But you, from a personal perspective, you can sign on
Yeah.
any kind of account.
Yeah, I'm
and I'd love to share more information about that too. Basically, what I've been doing in China for the past 5 years is building a platform to introduce designers and brands into China.
Yeah.
And one of the requirements that we have is from our own website, and the company's called Franco Label. So we feature all of these designers on this website, but we also require for them to participate and set up accounts with social media so we can create some buzz inside. Because people will research, a Chinese consumer will research extensively if a brand is real, if it's, where it's based out of, where the product is offered. They will find out more than we can. So I think that it's really important in the first step of a designer entering the market that they set up a social media preference in which they can, blog, they can do all different types. But you need somebody Chinese to translate it. It needs to be translated. And you cannot use Google Translate or any other translate platforms because they're just not accurate. You need to find a person that is industry and can translate that way.
So are you going to then be an approved business, and then those designers under you would also be approved?
Right. Right, but you can open up your own social media account very easily that way. Yeah. And you have also experienced that.
And Weibo,
Yeah.
So do you want to go through quickly what all the social media channels are in China, just like very quickly?
Sure. I could just touch base upon that. We have.
So we'll start with QQ, and you can see here on this little cute penguin.
I didn't realize it was there. So. Yeah. So QQ basically. As you can see there, IM Services, Tencent is the company that founded and started QQ, but also they started Weibo too. They offer the same thing, games, music, shopping, all kinds of great experiences online. What they've recently added too is a feature where you can give money, you can link it to your bank account or your credit card, and you can give money to people. There's a small gift, especially around Chinese New Year, which is really important. 829 active accounts as of 2015, which is amazing, and a peak of 176 million users all at once, at one time. So the function, and then WeChat I love WeChat. I think it's really user-friendly. It opens up various different ways to reach different consumers, but also you can create your own group or groups, and you can install Weibo into this with web pages and surf on your phone online and look at what the news is. 400 million worldwide, so you have 240 in China and then the balance in the western part. It definitely is a favorite way to communicate. I found that when I travel in China, everybody's on WeChat. The first thing you do is you don't even give a business card. You just hand your phone, get your bar up, and then you just scan it in, and then instantly you're connected. So it saves paper and trees at the same time. You have voice messages, photos, videos, the same as all the other ones, basically. Okay. And Weibo is also a big favorite, also created by Sina in 2009. 500 million users, you can only imagine, 50 million all at once at the day, and it's a mix of Twitter and Facebook, so you get different kinds of media that you can get information on. Weibo also, you can go on the English part and you can translate, you can read content yourself. You don't have to be facing simple Chinese language, so. And it's very popular for news, obviously. Momo is sort of a new one. I'm not that familiar with it, but I did some research on it. So it's a smaller format, and it basically blossomed because of a video that featured some discussion about Momo and about the internet and about one-night stands, obviously. So it boosted their...
It's the Tinder of China.
Sorry?
It's the Tinder of China.
So I guess that became big news, and it only takes one to tango in this particular case, so they really blossomed. So Momo, I have not used Momo personally myself, but I would definitely look into it. And then QZone is also, basically a little bit more specialized towards blogging, journals, and photo sharing, and then it's very, very easy to use, very straightforward. I personally don't use a lot, I have it. It's 600 million users, which is almost half of the population of China, 1.3 billion. And it's a high rate in sharing, so people do share information on a very frequent basis. And everybody profile, at least once a day, people update their profile in China. And they have not just one device, they have either 2 or 3 devices, phones that they use for various different things. So I'd say the social media part in China is at its infant stage, and I think it's just about to explode. It's going to multiply not in single digits, but in double digits over the next 5 years.
So what kind of content do you suggest that brands share through social media in China? Is it like designer profiles, new styles, like the standard kind of business information, or should people get more personal?
Yeah. What Chinese like, I mean, from my perspective, my experiences, they love to read news from the Western side. They like to read trends. You know, there's various magazines in China that have great blogs and have great social media exposure, like Bazaar Jewelry is one of them that has a monthly publication that can be shared. But basically, from a designer, if a designer enters China, I think the content should be driven towards what's happening in their hometown. If you're a designer based in New York, you know, what's happening in New York, what are the trends, what trade shows are you attending, who is your consumer base, what are they buying, how are they buying it. They're really hungry for that kind of content, so, and style is very important too.
And Robin, what kind of content do you suggest that brands and companies share?
So I don't have any experience from the brand.
Okay,
Because you
or
have to
designers,
be
or, yeah. No, not in China. I'm saying in general.
In general. Oh, I think photos speak volumes. Even on Twitter.
Yeah.
I mean, have you noticed that in your feed, you totally see those so much faster? And you catch people's eyes with beautiful things.
Oh, that would be Instagram, wouldn't it?
It would be without the hashtags.
So Cindy, what kind of content do you, specifically though, in the photos, what kind of photos get the best results in your experience on Instagram or anywhere?
Okay, so in my feed, I just love to put up different designers' work. So just microcosm of being in the industry, I'm finding a lot more consumers are finding my feed, and the better photos get the more hits.
Now, what is your position
Something
versus?
romantic. They have to be able to connect to that. It has to be a great photo.
Yep.
And it has to evoke something for them. Just another bridal ring, not so much, but an interesting stone. And then the way it's being worn and the lifestyle that it could be part of.
So one thing is like on the body or not?
So I work with the Couture Show, and our Instagram feed, the rule is on the body only. We won't do any product shots on our Instagram feed because Instagram is about the culture is being live, in person. It's a phone app. It's not, anywhere. It's not native to the desktop. So it should be in the moment.
Personal. Yeah.
That being said, sometimes you take really unfortunate photos in the moment. Yeah. So a balance.
Remember, your life has to be perfect on Instagram.
Yeah.
Right. Well, hence the filters and some photo shopping apps to look a little better. But you know what? It really people love to see the life.
Yeah. So Eugene, what about you?
So I live in the e-commerce world where we are trying to recreate the in-store jewelry experience online. So product photography is number one for us. We spend a tremendous amount of time on creating images that is as close to the real thing as possible. And the way that we do this is if we take a photograph of a piece of jewelry, we actually do 3 or 4 different focal points so that none of the piece is out of focus, and they actually then merge those images together. So if you look at an image, it is perfect all the way around. We also try to add on the body shot as well, because that just adds a little bit of depth and it gives you a little bit of perspective of the piece itself, because we've tried things like rulers next to it or a quarter or those things. It just doesn't work. It works best on the body, but for the actual pieces, and especially with the alternative views, the 360s, all those things, you need really, really good photography because you're trying to grab the attention of somebody that is used to taking a piece and putting it on their finger. So it's a really fine line that photography can just push you over the edge.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we thought we would do to try to make this come alive more is to focus on brands who are getting results on social media and really going into exactly what they're doing, what kind of content they're sharing, what they're doing that works. So if we start with Eugene, you selected Rio. So if maybe you explain to me, surprise.
It's one of his brands, but
You could have built that one online.
And maybe you could explain to us what Rio does online and what really works, what
I
gives
can
us
do that.
results.
So those of you that know me and that have heard me speak before know that I am a huge Mad Men fan. I was really happy this last weekend that they started up again. I'm very sad that it's the last season, and I've always secretly been a big Don Draper wannabe. And even though
Be careful now, be careful.
so even though he's
I don't know if Don is a good role model.
but
Yeah, right.
even though he's probably better looking than I am, I've got the accent that he doesn't have. So I've got him beat on that side. So, and when Ridgeline moved me from Albuquerque to New York, I thought, okay, now I'm getting really close to Madison Avenue, and I can actually work for a company where we can start drinking whiskey at 10 o'clock in the morning.
There you go.
And unfortunately, Mark Anna, thanks for nothing there.
Could you speak into the microphone, please? We're recording this.
You're not going to the jewelry show. They usually start about that time.
So if you look at the advertising campaigns that they run in the Mad Men era, the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, it was a lot easier, and not really cheaper, but a lot easier to get your message in front of a lot of people very, very easily, very quickly. And the main reason is you had a few TV stations, a few radio stations, all the newspapers and magazines were syndicated throughout the country. So if you're running an ad for Colgate or Dodge or Texaco, it's relatively easy to get the entire population engaged at some point. The only way we can do that now is with sports events. The Super Bowl is still one that comes to mind where you've got a big captive audience. You've got other events like when the president speaks, but that's not really, the whole country watches, but they're not really looking for the ads in that. So it's very difficult to get in front of a lot of people very quickly, and especially with social media. Social media now, you have NBC and ABC competing with mommy bloggers who are competing with affiliate accounts to get that same marketing message out. So it's become really, really difficult to get in front of a whole group of people. So what they do at Rio, actually they do two things really, really well at Rio. The first thing is they segment their client base extremely, extremely well. They look at your purchase history, they see exactly what kind of products you are buying, and they put you into a bucket. They then also look at what you do on their website. A lot of personalization, a lot of, when you come to the website and you watch certain videos, you look at certain how-tos, they follow that through and they put you into a bucket and they market to you accordingly. So what Facebook has allowed you to do is you can use their API, and the API stands for an application programming interface. And all that really is, it's two computer systems that talk to each other and send electronic messages to one another. So your email service provider can talk directly to Facebook by just connecting certain channels so they can send information. So what they do at Rio, and I'll use them as an example, I won't use the real numbers, but say you have an email list of 10,000 people, and you know that 2,000 of those people are stone setters. And you know that by their buying history, what they've done online. So you know that these 2,000 people, if you come up with a new stone setting tool, they will be interested in it. So what they do is they take those 2,000 people that they've identified, they give those names to Facebook through the API. Facebook then matches those 2,000 with your fan base. And if they see there's an overlap, say 500 of those people are fans of yours on Facebook, you show an ad or a piece of content or something that is relevant to that specific person. So if it's the example, if you can go to the next slide.
I love big data.
So this is one of their campaigns that they are running right now. It's everybody that's interested in files, whether you use it in the beginning of the process, the end of the process, everybody that's interested in files will see this piece of content in their feed on Facebook. So if you buy packaging equipment from Rio, you will not see this because it's totally irrelevant to you. So they managed to put an ad or a piece of content in front of a very, very relative target audience. And you can see, I don't know if you can read it, but the guy that left a comment there asked, do you guys sell these? Now, that is absolutely gold. This is what you want. If you read when I took the screenshot, I didn't drop it down to open up, but what they did was they said, okay, yes, we do, and here's a link to the product page. Now, that link is also tagged. It's tagged with Facebook. So now your CMO of the company, your chief marketing officer, is happy as well because you can now attribute that sale directly back to Facebook. Because that's been a big challenge in the whole social media industry is you don't know where your traffic is coming from. You don't know how it's contributing to the sales. By doing it this way, you know exactly. If that guy comes to the page and he buys those files, the social media group gets the credit for that. So very, very powerful how these guys are using social media. Then, if we move on to my current position at Judy.com, this is the exact opposite side of the scale. We are B2C, we market to consumers, and it's B2C marketing on steroids. If you come to the Judy.com page and you do anything on our website, we will track you, we will follow your children, your neighbors, until you either
Sounds like the
You'll be
government.
stalked with banner ads. That's called retargeting.
until you either buy from us or you unsubscribe. But it's a very, very aggressive way to do business.
Yeah,
You can. Absolutely. So the way that we run all our social media campaigns at Judy.com is everything starts with a blog article. We've got Laura Parker. I know you know her, the Judy Insider. She's been writing about Judy for many, many years. She's got a huge following on Facebook, on Twitter, all over the place. And Laura will start, her and her team will start with 2 or 3 blog articles a week. Those blog articles then go onto Twitter, onto Facebook, onto Instagram, all over the place. That we are just, wherever there's an audience, we will put this article in front of you. Where the main goal for our social media is lead generation, because this is the lifeblood of our entire business. We need to fill that funnel continuously with new people. The way we do this on Facebook is by running sweepstakes. Now, a lot of you will tell me that a sweepstakes is an absolute waste of time because most people that enter sweepstakes are fake. All they are there for is to win a prize. There are actually people that do sweepstaking as a profession.
Yeah.
They enter 10, 20, 30 sweepstakes a day just hoping to win something. So we get the email addresses marysweeps@gmail.com. So you know that this is her account that she uses
right,
only
for
for
sweepstakes,
sweepstakes. So we will run a sweepstake like the one we've got going at the moment, and we'll get 3, 4, 5, 6,000 email addresses. Now, we know that they are low value because most of these are just bogus. They're just there to win the prize. So we market to them extremely aggressively. What we will do is you'll send you 2, 3, 4, 5 emails literally until you unsubscribe or buy because we know what the deal is. And by doing that, we just keep filling the funnel continuously because our email marketing campaign is very aggressive, more aggressive than I've seen with pretty much any other company that I've ever spoken to. And I thought that it would never work the way that they're doing it, but I'm surprised how well it does work because we sell mainly closeout products. So we've got huge margins to play with. So we can do the discounting, the couponing, the BOGOs, the buy 2, get 10% off, gift with purchase, all these games we can play because we've got the margin to do that. So our email campaign, we segment our people not according to their buying history. Because if somebody comes to the website and they buy a silver pearl earring, it doesn't mean that they only buy pearls, that they only buy silver, or they only buy earrings. You've got no clue what they're going to do next. So we segment them into 30, 60, and 90-day openers. So if we send you an email and you open it, you are in the 60-day or the 30-day bucket. Those 30-day bucket people, we email you in the morning. If you don't open it, we email you in the afternoon. If you don't open it, we email you at night. And it is excessive. It's absolutely excessive. And I'm surprised that our unsubscribe rates are extremely low. And the reason is these are bargain hunters. These are people that they are so scared to unsubscribe because they're going to miss out on tomorrow's deal. So the same thing with Groupon. You don't open Groupon every day, but if you got somebody coming to town, you want to see what's being offered in New York, you'll open your Groupon email. That's how we approach the email program that we launch, and it's all started on Facebook. Everything starts on our social media channels.
Fascinating.
Is the filing all these things into different categories on your inbox messing with you guys?
No, not really.
Okay.
Oh, you mean the way that
Because all
Google
my
splits
sales
it?
stuff
Yeah.
goes into a sales thing, and
Yeah,
I look at it if I want to.
No, it doesn't matter. People know where, they are familiar enough with the way that Gmail separates the tabs, and you know where to go to see where the things are. And you could just leave it in your sales
Right.
box until you need it.
Right.
So it actually works in our favor.
So let's go to the entire other end of the market. Cindy, talk about a brand and and how luxury promotes itself on social media.
So Jackie Aishi has done an amazing job on Instagram. The company is only 5 years old, and I think us in the industry have really only heard about her for the last 2 or so. We're the last ones to figure it out because they are blowing up on Instagram. They use all the streams, but Instagram is their thing. So we have here, I want to go to the next slide because I think that really should be, just an overview of what they do. So their followers is over 15,000?
150.
Thank you, 150,000.
Wow.
Yeah, if you see here, down here, they
150,000. The reason I said that is
followers.
because they went from 15,000 to 150,000 like that. It seemed within 9 months, their growth has gone exponential. When they first celebrated, they're hitting 10,000 followers. From that point till now, it multiplies daily, doubles daily. So they've done an amazing job. And for designers and for other brands, what really the takeaway from watching their feed is how they've grown from the earlier days. You can go back and see their photos. For about 9 months now, they've been doing professional photo shoots. That's hiring a model, hair and makeup every month. And all they do is go out and play. So all these photos you're seeing are from one photo shoot. So the photo shoot started about 9 months ago, and that's when their growth just went exponential. So better photography always brings better results. The other thing they've done is their jewelry is very fun and fashionable and simple. Their demographic is 25 to 55, which is really quite broad, but the under $500 price point is where the 20-somethings are. And of course, from watching Real Housewives of Everywhere, if the 50-year-olds want to look like the 25-year-olds, they're buying their fashion and their sensibility too. So their visuals meld it. It looks very young, but they've got older models as well as younger models, but all in this very cool Southern California casual vibe, a very fashionable, specific point of view that seems to be quite popular based on 150,000 followers. So the professional photography has really made a difference for them, and then the consistency, so they post twice a day.
Lifestyle consistency, too.
The lifestyle consistency.
All of it is just.
Right, and anybody can opt in. So they do probably 1 to 10 ratio of model shots, and then Jackie really loves spiritual sayings. Her whole corporate vibe is about spirituality and freedom and, be who you are, let your freak flag fly, but in a really fashionable, cool way that you always want to be part of the group. So being part of the group also has to do with her hashtag. She started a hashtag called JA Tribe, and so it's join the tribe, be part of the tribe is on fire, and people are reusing that hashtag, but it's also giving a very clear persona to everyone who likes this jewelry and everyone who follows her. So the spiritual words, and every once in a while you see a funny five-pronged leaf somewhere. You see some sassiness, a couple of curse words every once in a while, because it's about this culture and this persona. And it's really not about an age, although it looks very youthful. So the other successful thing they've done to grow their fan base is collaborations. And there's a lot of collaborations out there. So no matter what size your brand is, if you team up with a fashion company, a liquor company, music would be great. There's so many other businesses that you're aiming your customer base, whoever she is, and the collaborations are great. So you do a takeover. Couture does them. We have certain designers or incredible media people do a couture takeover for 24 hours. They're running our feed, so it's a day in the life of their brand connected to your brand. It's really fun and powerful, and then you get to share visitors, followers, and hopefully pick up a lot of new followers, which is what Jackie's done with several fashion brands that are totally in the right vein there. And they also did one with celebrity bloggers, their type of girls. So that's really helped them grow exponentially. Let's see, what else do I want to tell you about them?
Can I ask you something real quick?
Yeah.
On Instagram, those are actual genuine followers too. You're not advertising for those followers.
No, she doesn't do that at all.
So they're organic, real followers.
These are members of the
That's
tribe.
huge. That's huge.
Built that.
If you try to do that on Facebook, it's almost impossible.
Right. And actually, I asked them about the other streams. So Facebook, they felt you have to be there, but it's a snooze fest. Sorry. I don't personally agree, but for their brand, they felt like they dropped things there. It also has to do with the youthful slant of their business that, you know, Facebook is growing more with the 50-somethings than the 20-somethings. So what I was surprised at, they weren't into Snapchat. I thought they were going to tell me we're snapping. Nope, they're not using that very much. But I do think that that is something that brands are, very clever, young, trendy brands are using. And then, of course, if I really want to show my youthful point of view, I had to ask them about Meerkat and Periscope.
Right.
Just to prove that I know what Meerkat and Periscope
they
is.
are.
Meerkat's been up for like 2 months, so. There.
Live streaming video, live streaming video.
So those are micro videos, micro video platforms. So Meerkat has been around for 2 months, and the fashion crowd loved it at South by Southwest 2 months ago. So that's where all of a sudden we're talking about Meerkat, and Periscope is its competitor. And really, they're all about micro-blogging. And you can also, micro video. You can do that on Instagram as well. I did find that statistically, the fashion world has the least engagement using video, which strikes me very odd, but L2 said so I believe him. But I think video is really powerful for your brand to connect to the designer, to connect to really what's going on in your life, in your business, because the whole point of a designer brand is to bring the creator to the consumer. And social media gets rid of all the boundaries. You don't have to be physically with them. You don't have to be doing a trunk show to sell product. Oh, and let me tell you about selling product on Instagram. To celebrate 10,000 followers, Jackie Aishi had a one-day sale. One day, 50% off. They have their own website that does retail. Sales grew. First, she said 50-60% that day. 50-60 times. I was like, 50 times normal sales? Are you 500%? Are you kidding? Later in the conversation, it came down to 20-30%, 20-30 times, so I'm not really sure what number she wants to get to. But I do know somebody was in their office that day coincidentally, and the stack of orders to process, he said, was a good 3 inches tall. That's a good day.
For a one day, yeah.
That's a good day.
That's a good month.
And this is for a brand who, while they do have their own retail presence, it's small compared to their wholesale. Let's not forget that they're in over 150 doors in the States and on 6 or 7 other e-tail sites. So their site is there to accommodate the tribe who doesn't live near a store or doesn't want to shop on one of the big e-tail sites but wants to shop with her. They show only about 20% of their product line on their website, and they use Instagram to show the other 80%. So they're really trying to catch their customers wanting something new. You see that, if you go back one, a lot of their product is with multiple stones, one-of-a-kind stones, crystals. So it's a lot of one-of-a-kind business. Their stores really love their Instagram account. You'd think, again, maybe they're competing with their own customers. She says they haven't found that to be a problem. When they get a sale, and they're getting sales daily from Instagram, either they're going over to their site to buy the specific item, or they're just leaving a comment, hey, I want to order that earring, here's my email. So the staff is actually following up on their Instagram feed with comments, posts, but sales requests. And I can tell you for everyone else who's not doing their own retail, but if you're doing, still running a wholesale-only business, retailers are shopping Instagram. I talk to retailers all the time who say they are using it as, I mean, it's the most casual way to kill time in a cab, you know, waiting for a meeting, in the loo, not that I would ever know anything about that. They're shopping.
Is that a waterproof case?
So let's go on to a live maker. Robin, you had an example of a person that you feel you know on social media, Wendy
Right,
Brandis.
because she doesn't just, it's, Wendy Brandis, okay, so most of the companies that are doing major business, and you won't find Wendy has like 150,000 followers, but her followers are genuine and they know her, and they talk to her, and you can go to her jewelry page, and yeah, it's the jewelry, but when you're talking to, when you start to make comments, she ends up coming over there and talking to you just like you're standing next to her. What I love is that she's been around a while. It's not like a brand new brand and everyone's in love with it. She's been here for, 7, 8, 10 years. Not 10. But, and you just don't see that so much anymore. People get going, and then all of a sudden they find the longevity isn't there. So, and she just does a really good mix. She does emoji jewelry, which is just that simple little hashtags and crazy stuff. And then she does really, really fine stuff. Well, there's her little emoji. What Wendy excels at is her blog. Yeah. I mean, it is amazing. But she is a journalist. She started as a journalist, so yeah. Really, really exceptional stuff. Short and sweet, sorry. Okay, and then Everett, you have an example from China.
The Franco Label platform is it's a stage in which we're introducing about 15 to 20 different designers from the West into the East. So we've got a couple of different complexities by doing that. We're not working in a sort of homogeneous market with a Chinese designer or with an American designer or with existing designers. We're introducing new designers. So our obstacles with using social media, and we use Weibo at Franco Label case, is that we do two things. We want to create awareness, and we want to build some kind of an education part into this, because the fact of going into China, many people say, oh, we're going to go to China and sell our product there, and then they get there and it's like, it's overwhelming. So I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to bundle from a B2B level and a B2C level and running those two parallel. So what we have is, for example, we do the Hong Kong show in September and also in March, where we feature all of these designers. And we have Chinese traffic, both B2B, wholesale, and B2C consumers walking through the Hong Kong show, either wanting to buy or interested in doing a wholesale business. So our like I said, the awareness and the education is really key to build that trust, because you're bringing in a foreign designer into the Chinese market. Cartier was introduced by the owner of this company, Frank Tang, about 18 years ago in China. And you could see what has happened since then. On the luxury level, it seems to be very educated and very sophisticated. But when you go to the second tier and third tier markets, that social media aspect of the way that we create awareness and the way we educate the consumer are really important, because these are quality brands. We have brands such as Alex Sepkus, we have Victor Meyer, we have on our roster various different brands that are all high. They're not huge companies, but they are important companies with a significant outreach of social media in the US and in Europe and other places. We have Japanese brands, we have some other brands too. So the content in which we present it, and I really like the fact that you talked about photography. Photography is key. I mean, we don't do a good job at it, but we need to learn how to do that, because when we do the B2C aspect, we do roadshows, and we travel through China in 3 or 4 different regions, visiting 6 to 8 cities, and we're touching the consumer directly. And for example, with Sepkus, when Jeff was, we were in Chengdu, which is the capital of Sichuan province, and with a retailer that you can go to the next slide if you want. This is a retailer called Derriere. What a name for a retailer, right? Yeah. Whoever came up with that was like, he didn't go to France or to Europe to find out what the name really meant, but he found out. But they are a really important retailer. They have 60 stores. I currently am part of their board their board of directors and helping them out to establish themselves in other areas. But they do a great job on using this, and they do it in two different ways. They do it from an educational perspective. It's really important. They actually have a university that they built in Chengdu. That's a huge 30,000 square foot building that is used to train their personnel, but also train the consumer. So with social media, with that, I'll give closure to it. But for us, it's really important because we're still doing awareness, building trust, and then just creating that education part. That's really important for us. Of course, sales are really important, and we had with this particular retailer done these B2C shows where through social media and posting people wearing a bangle or wearing a pair of earrings that they would come into the store, even flying in from Beijing to see this collection because it was only there for 2 days or 3 days. So we are capitalizing in on the results of social media by physically touching the consumer B2C. So it's a little different than what you're doing, and I envy because you're, in a way, China's ahead, but in a way, there's so many different things that we still have to learn and exchange and share.
Yeah, they're ahead in their own market.
Yeah,
but
right.
really, they don't know anything outside their market.
But the American market is more saturated from an educational perspective. You have organizations like GIA and other organizations, and companies like Signet that have done a great job educating their consumer too, and Hoover and Strong. So I think that culture's starting to come up in China too, the same way. So.
So what about the future of social? Any predictions? Anyone like to give a short prediction about what you're expecting to see in the next year? Any changes in the works?
I do believe that marketing and technology will start moving closer together. The line is so blurry between what the marketing guys are doing and what the IT guys are doing, and those two will start getting together. And programs that Rio is running using APIs to connect and to share data and to do their targeting that way, I believe is the future. I think we're just seeing the start of what technology can do for us in the social media area.
Data-driven social. Anyone else?
I think more lifestyle mixed in. On your Instagram feed, you've got your personal life, your business life, you're following people that post that way too. We're seeing behind the scenes of famous people that you never really got to know before. What I've read about the video platforms is how many more people are using it for the behind the scenes. Politicians are taking a 10-second video of their speech prep, and then all their followers get to see what that looks like. There's breaking that fourth wall and really bringing you into
their realm, right?
Their world, and your customer into your world in a much more seamless way.
Yeah.
Just going to
There
continue.
was a local LA news channel that actually did half their news report on, I think it was Periscope. That's how good that video channel is. I mean, it's excellent. The quality is just like a professional team coming out and working with you.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I think from my perspective, looking at China, it's going to be more bespoke and more personalized, the way that people will communicate. And also, I think that, I compliment what you said, Cindy. I totally agree with that. But also the fact in China is that within certain of these social media platforms, there's VIP groups. And these VIP groups are by membership or by invitation only, and they're based upon position in workplace, money aspect, social status, all of that. And that's where we're also focusing on that, trying to push that forward because it's all about the sale. It's all about getting that beautiful jewelry on a beautiful woman or a guy that they walk away with the experience. That's what we want to achieve. So targeting the consumer is going to be, and being more bespoke and more personal is going to be a very important part in China coming up. It's already happening.
And that gets results. So are there any questions? Do we have time?
What I would propose is, in fact, your overtime is,
Sorry.
depending on how the panel feels, perhaps we could at lunch break for questions, but we really
Oh, tweet us your questions. We'll answer.
Exactly.
No worries.
be with us today. So, one of the things that there's a lot of this conference is conversation and exchange. So, please, I encourage you, and also I want to mention that in your packets, there is information on PowerPoint provided by Edward DeGray
Okay, and here are the addresses if you want to follow anyone on social media. Cindy's is obviously Instagram, but
I'm on Twitter and Facebook too.
She
Ask
is,
your
she
question
is.
any way you want.
Stalk any way you want.
Yeah.
This stuff is being used.
Thank